Hey there, and welcome to another video. Yeah, today another collection update for the month of May. Got quite a few CDs and vinyls like normal. Nothing overly underground. Actually, a lot of stuff that I've sort of rebought from my younger days that I had and sold, or just yeah, finishing off some collections with the holes in the collection. So yeah, nothing particularly underground or stuff that people won't know of. It's all incredibly sort of above ground, overground, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, there's some pretty straight down the line popular stuff here, but I don't care. I wanted it in the collection, so was able to grab some of it pretty cheap. So yeah, thought I'd grab it, and I only grab stuff I like anyway. So it's not like I'm just buying shit for the hell of it. Yeah, so to start off with, got this from a Discog seller in Australia. He's been selling a lot of really good stuff. So yeah, I've liked this band for a long time. Had the albums on MP3 and stuff like that, but never had the physical copies. So was happy to snap these ones up, which was Japan's Metal Lucifer. Very straight down the line, heavy metal. No, no beating around the bush. It's not very flashy, but just got a lot of character. Particularly the first album, which I love. And I also like the German version of Heavy Metal Bulldozer as well. That's probably two of my favorites. The others are really good as well, but yeah, compared to the first album, I don't think they've topped that really. But yeah, so I got a Heavy Metal Drill there. Great album cover. Mr. Neil Tanaka on every album cover, and there's pictures of him everywhere on all these CDs. So you can't go wrong there. There we go. Heavy Metal Chainsaw. Another great cover. Heavy Metal Bulldozer. Another great cover as well. What can you say? And yeah, the German version of Heavy Metal Bulldozer, which is absolutely great. It's got Tormentor from Disaster, or ex-Disaster now. And I think it's the guitarist from Metal Inquisitor. But yeah, really good, really tight sort of stuff. If you don't like the looseness and maybe the singing of the Japanese, of Giyazol's sort of voice, but still like the songs, this is a really cool album to listen to. So yeah, glad to have the Metal Lucifer albums in the collection. It's been a while. I'd always think about them and then I wouldn't get them, and then just saw them on this guy's list and I was like, yep, I'm snapping those up. All right, next up we have Deceased with Fearless Undead Machines. What can you say about this one? Absolute classic. I remember this album when it came out. It was I wasn't really into this style of death metal or metal in general at that time. I think this was 97 maybe. I was really going through the black metal phase then, but for some reason this album at the time just really stuck out and had great songs, really good heavy metal, like a classic heavy metal sort of vibe as well. Had a really creepy atmosphere to it, and obviously King Fowley's great lyrics. He's a great storyteller, and yeah, like this is definitely one of my favorite Deceased albums, and they're such a great band. Contamination, like the second track, it's not even like it's just like a little interlude type thing, but it's just so well done, so creepy. And this album in general is just chock full of great songs. How good's the glare there? Jesus. All right, there we go. I got it right. So yeah, definitely check out this album if you haven't checked it out before, but I'm pretty sure a lot of you have. Deceased, absolutely fantastic band, and they're still going strong. Their last album, Ghostly White, was really cool, and yeah, they never put out a bad album. All right, just get these organized a bit. And yeah, so lately I've just been listening to a lot of like symphonic stuff. I've been going back and listening to a lot of old, like sort of Dimmu Borgir and Old Man's Child and stuff like that. So you might vomit on your laptop or wherever you watch this video. But yeah, I've been really enjoying Cradle of Filth lately. My thing with Cradle, back in like say 95, when I was first getting into black metal and stuff like that, a lot of my mates were into the first album, and I enjoyed it, but it never really struck me. that strong. I was, not a huge fan of those Danny Filth's, screechy sort of vocals. I thought the music was fine, well, really confident, well played. And back then they weren't sort of, they weren't hated as like a poser band or anything. It was crazy back then. They were really well respected on that, especially on that first album. But I actually really loved Dusk in Her Embrace. That album I absolutely flogged to death back in the day. Never, like the Principle of Evil Made Flesh never really hit me. While I did enjoy it at times, but Dusk really hit me. I didn't mind Cruelty and the Beast. It had like a few good songs, but production wise, it was a bit all over the shop. And then whatever I heard from Midian at the time didn't do anything for me. So I there's like a 20-year period with Cradle that I just didn't really give a shit about. And it wasn't until I checked out their last album, Existence is Futile, and I was really impressed. I thought it sounded good. There were some moments that reminded me of Dusk in Her Embrace. Really good riffs, obviously ultra slick and professionally produced, as you'd expect from these big bands, but I couldn't fault the songwriting. So I think checking out that sort of new album made me go back down the rabbit hole to check out a lot of that stuff, and a lot of the stuff that I didn't missed, especially the previous two albums. So got this one here. I think it's called Cryptoriana. Not sure of the pronunciation, but yeah, again, really cool album. Hammer of the Witches, just riffs all over it. Really thrashy, really melodic. I can't fault the writing. Again, I'm not a huge fan of Danny Filth's vocals. I can tolerate them, but musically it's great. Ended up just getting this one, even though I didn't really like it back in the day, and it's sort of growing on me a bit. I'm enjoying it. And also I decided to grab the first album and make sure I give it a good running through, just and I like it. It's just compared to Dusk, it's not my, it's not that strong, not as strong, but it's definitely, I got the utmost respect for these guys. They were innovators in that style back in the day, and obviously a lot of copycats, and they reached a certain level in the underground and beyond to warrant a lot of hatred and a lot of sort of people slinging shit at them, because that's what happens when bands grow and get big. Doesn't matter if their music's good, people can't handle smaller bands getting big. So been checking out the Cradle, enjoying it. Got this one as well, which is the new Dark Funeral album, We Are the Apocalypse. This was really surprising for me, because when it comes to Dark Funeral, I'm not a huge fan of Secrets of the Black Arts. I really rate Vobiscum Satanas. That's probably my favorite. And then there's the three albums after that, which not my cup of tea at all. It's just very, I don't know, just run of the mill sort of fast black metal. And the songs didn't really stand out to me. I liked their one before this one. I think it's Where Shadows Forever Reign. That was sort of a step in the right direction. And then this one, I just think it's a really good sounding album. Really cool organic production, particularly with the drums. Really audible bass compared to some of their early stuff, which is quite thin. And I think it's a classy, well-written album. Really cool riffs, good vocals. I mean, not groundbreaking. It's Dark Funeral doing what they do. But in saying that, I'd also say that this is probably the most varied when it comes to songwriting. So Lord Ahriman's sort of stretching out a bit and doing some slightly different stuff that he hasn't really done before. So cool album. Been listening to it quite a lot. And up next, we have the first album from Norway's Fluidity. This is an album I had back in the day, back in like 95. It was one of the real early albums I bought originally on Misanthropy Records, I'm pretty sure. This one went over my head pretty much. I enjoyed bits and pieces of it, but because it was so very sort of progressive and well, I don't want to say pretentious, but they were definitely trying to push the boundaries of what black metal was. You know, a lot of clean guitar stuff, subtle sort of playing with the drums and softer moments. You know, female vocals, screechy black metal vocals, which sort of seem out of place. But yeah, it's a really varied album, a really different album. Nothing really sounded like this, or no other band sort of done an album like this, I don't think. I actually haven't heard their earlier material. I remember hearing about their demo material, or a particular demo that had incredibly shrieky vocals that used to cop a lot of shit. But yeah, I haven't checked out the demo stuff. I checked that last album. I think it's called The White Death, which was released on Peaceville. This is also a Peaceville reissue as well. But yeah, you know, in the history of Norwegian black metal, it's, you know, I like to sort of have all that stuff that was released in those great years. So, and this sort of sits firmly in that era. And it's a really cool and different album compared to a lot of stuff that was coming out at the time. So definitely well worth checking out. Probably the same could be said of this one, except I think I could understand this one a bit more at the time, and that's the first Arcturus album, Aspira Heim Symphonia. I think I got that right. Yeah, so this one was, I'd never heard or the My Angel or Constellation stuff before this. The reason I'd got this album back in the 90s was purely because I'd read about them in zines. And if memory serves me correct, I'm pretty sure the album was actually released on Century Media or Century Black or something like that. So one of those early Norwegian bands to get like distribution or you know, actually being on sort of like a semi-major label. Yeah, I mean, this is really cool stuff. It's their most black metal. It's still got those you know, very symphonic elements, almost circus music-esque, which they would take to the next level on the La Masquerade album. But yeah, as far as Arcturus goes, a lot of people, you know, love them and praise them. I've got absolutely nothing against them, but I don't bother going past this. There's been some tracks I've heard from La Masquerade. An ex-girlfriend of mine really loved that album, so I was exposed to that quite a bit, and some of the songs were really cool, but in general it was just a bit too pretentious and wanky for me. So I never really bought it or went further. So yeah, I mean, it's a well-known album, this one, reissued through Prophecy Productions, I think it is, and I think they've done like vinyl versions as well. But when it comes to Arcturus, I'm just going to stick with this one. But who knows, maybe in the future I will fall in love with all their other material. As I was saying at the top, been loving a lot of the symphonic stuff, and just, you know, I don't know why I can't I can't sort of explain why I've been into that stuff lately. But yeah, so the only Old Man's Child album that I had, and the one that I really rated, was Born of the Flickering, and I owned that one. I did own Ill-Natured Spiritual Invasion back in the 90s when that came out, and I also got the one after, the Revelation 666 album. But sold them, as I sold quite a lot of stuff back in the day. But yeah, because I've been enjoying, I hadn't really been exposed to the post 2000 stuff. So yeah, In Defiance of Existence, Vermin, and Slaves of the World. And I was just listening to them on Spotify, and I was impressed. You know, obviously it's really slick, really well produced stuff, but you know, the riffs were there. It was just like really, I wouldn't even call it black metal. It's just it's almost like death thrash with keyboards and occasional sort of gothic influences and like a raspy black metal voice. But in saying that, he's got some depth to his voice as well. So yeah, the Pagan Prosperity, I picked that up. They've all been reissued through Cosmic Keys Cosmic Key Creations. I was about to say the Emperor song then. Yeah, so Pagan Prosperity came after Born of the Flickering. It's a cool album. I remember at the time there was a compilation CD that Century Media put out, and I remember hearing, I think it was track 3, Soul Possessed, that was on that, and it sounded so different to, you know, the first album. And I didn't like the drum sound, the snare sound. I still don't like that snare sound. It's pretty horrible sounding snare, but really, great drum performance, just odd production. I hadn't heard an album in Norway that sounded like this. I actually thought this was like a sort of got like a Woodhouse Studios production, but when I checked the credits, it was recorded in Norway. So and Woodhouse obviously being German studio where a lot of Century Media bands in the early 90s sort of went. So yeah, Pagan Prosperity, really cool album. I knew this one because I owned it back in the day, and this is a really cool album. A lot more rhythmic and riff based, not very melodic. All the melodic stuff seems to be based around the keyboard work. He got Gene Hoglan drumming on this one, so you know what to expect drum wise. Yeah, really cool album, but you're not going to get a lot out of it as far as it's pretty surface level. Once you hear it straight off the bat, that's pretty much all you're going to get. Then we've got the Revelation 666 album, which I had. They went to Abyss for this one, so yeah, I'm not a huge Abyss Productions fan, and this is pretty ordinary when it comes to production wise, but it's a pretty good album. It's got some really good songs, good just typical Old Man's Child at this period, probably a bit more melodic than Ill-Natured Spiritual Invasion, but yeah, cool album. And after this, he obviously joined Dimmu Borgir. Got this one, In Defiance of Existence, is it? Yeah, that one's got Nicholas Barker playing drums, and obviously he was in Dimmu Borgir at the time. Vermin, which at the moment is one of my favorites. I've been really enjoying this one. It's really well written, great riffs. So Vermin and the final album at the moment, I think they're still listed as active on Metal Archives, but he hasn't done anything for a while. Slaves of the World, cool stuff. Yeah, so enjoying Old Man's Child. I'm not sure how long my affinity with all this Cradle of Filth, Old Man's Child, and all that kind of stuff will last, but at the moment it's just it's hitting the spot. Okay, I'll better grab these. I'll do these ones first. So I'll grab this one, and that's Ebony Tower by Mare or Mara. I'm not sure how you pronounce it. Norwegian band. Sort of really sinister, dark, evil black metal. It's got quite a professional sounding production though, compared to their earlier material, which was quite cavernous and sort of even, well, I don't want to say rehearsal, but sort of, pretty underground sounding. And, this is a lot more professional sounding, but still keeping that atmosphere. Vocally sort of reminds me a bit of what Attila did on the first Mayhem album, but not a complete ripoff, and probably not as unhinged, just that stereotypical voice that Attila is known for. Some of the moments on this sort of reminded me of like maybe what Gehenna were going for with Unravel, just that real dark, devilish sounding black metal, but probably a bit more polished than what Gehenna did on Unravel. That's probably a lazy comparison, but that's just sort of the vibe I've been getting. And I do need to spend a bit more time with this because I've only just recently got it, and most of the time I've listened to it online. So yeah, I really need to sit down with this and go along with the lyrics and stuff like that. But yeah, cool album. Up next, we have pretty similar to what I've been talking about with Old Man's Child and Cradle. So back in the day, I liked Wu-Tang, and I sort of just went off them at about, I think it was around Lawless Darkness. I didn't really know them that well up until this album, and I got this recently. I've owned it before, but it got lost or something like that. This is a cool album. This is sort of where they sort of took it up a step in the next level as far as popularity and that goes. They sort of come on off the back of touring with Dissection and just that whole affiliation with Dissection, I'd say. This is a cool album. There's, musically, it's a lot different to Cassus Luciferi, a lot more traditional heavy metal, a lot more sort of melodic in the sense of, like, say, Niflheim, those sorts of horror type melodies. I've never really heard a whole lot of dissection in Watain. They have definite elements and moments where they have those dissection type melodies and whatnot. But yeah, when people go, oh, it's a dissection clone, no way. If anything, I've always heard more Mayhem, especially in the earlier material. But I do think they've really forged their own sound. And yeah, so Sworn to the Dark, cool album. Not my favorite, but it's still pretty good. And I also grabbed Lawless Darkness, and I owned this when it first came out, but again, it's gone missing somewhere. I actually played this a lot back in the day, and 2010, I think it came out, and it's a bloody good album. It's I can't fault it. It's just really good songs. It's a pretty long album, but great riffs. I like it a lot more than the previous album. And yeah, again, they took a step up in popularity after this album, but can't complain. It's really good stuff. And from the seller that who I bought the Metal Lucifer CDs off, so I got Sworn to the Dark, and is that upside down? Yeah, Trident Wolf Eclipse. I thought I'd grab this just to get the whole collection. This is, a lot more rougher, a lot more aggressive than say the Wild Hunts and that kind of stuff. I need to give this a bit more time, but so far I've been really enjoying it. But I can't really talk much about this one at the moment because I haven't really spent enough time with it, and it sort of came in that period where I wasn't really listening to Watain that much because like after Lawless Darkness, I did check out the Wild Hunts, but I just I wasn't really interested. But we get to this one, and I've been smashing this lately. I think this is a great album. I can't sort of fault it. It's got great songs, really good atmosphere. It's very varied as well. Really aggressive stuff, but those real creepier sort of black metal stuff. It's like to me, it's easily their best since Lawless Darkness. It might even be better than that. How much I'm listening to it and really enjoying it. So when I was hearing the songs leading up to the release date, it sort of made me delve back into some of the earlier stuff, and was sort of like the catalyst for buying and filling up the collection, or the Watain discography. So yeah, when I got this, I was just like, wow, great album. I had no expectations, and been really blown away by it. So yeah, definitely so far this year, this is the one that I've been flogging, and really enjoying it, getting a lot out of it. So yeah, if you haven't checked it out, definitely check it out. Okay, up next, we've got Thyrane from Finland with Symphonies of Infernality. Wouldn't want to say that when I'm drunk. I in the last collection update, I had their Black Harmony mini CD, which I spoke about. Really cool Finnish black metal, symphonic sort of black metal, but really really great riffs. And I think I mentioned in that video that it could stand alone on the riffs. That's how good it is. So and this is in the same vein, probably a lot more savage with the riffing, probably a lot less there was quite a lot of Gorgoroth I felt on that Black Harmony CD, but this one's probably getting a bit more riffy, a bit more aggressive, but still really good stuff. Haven't heard anything after this, but yeah, really good stuff, and I'm glad to have it. I think this one hasn't been reissued from Woodcut, but definitely the Black Harmony CD has. So if you haven't got that, definitely check it out. All right. So up next, we have Thunderbolt from Poland. Always a band that I've really enjoyed, but never had the physical CDs. This one, I was, probably listened to the least, The Burning Deed of Deceit. I think before that, they had the Sons of the Darkness and maybe an EP or something like that. So yeah, just really furious, dark, evil black metal, not very Polish sounding. When you think of Poland, you think of like more atmospheric sort of early Graveland sort of stuff. maybe, or, you know, this wasn't in that era where Polish bands were very influenced by, like, you know, a band like Maguire wasn't around, so it wasn't that sort of style. This is very fast, not in the Swedish vein though. There's a lot of those sort of mayhem type riffs, and yeah, I think they really forged a sound for themselves. Really sort of evil black metal. And also picked up Inhuman Ritual Mass Murder. I think on this album, Necrosodom from Azarath came in. And yeah, it's definitely, you know, some more death metal influences on this one. Really savage, really fast at times. Stormblast is just an absolute maniac of a drummer. If you've heard his work on Infernal War, that Redesecration album, it's just like insane. Really cool drummer. But yeah, just this one's like a mix of the ultra fast melodic blasting, but with, you know, some mayhem vibes, but also some of those death metal riffs, like maybe even like a Deicide or an Angel Corpse or something like that. But yeah, again, really cool stuff. And their final album, Apocalyptic Doom, which was the one that I used to listen to a lot when I first heard about this band on good old MP3. I absolutely flogged the crap out of this album. And yeah, continuing in the same vein, probably not as aggressive as the previous two albums. Definitely sort of some more slower moments, some more atmospheric moments. But yeah, really cool stuff. And they ended up disbanding after this. I think the main guy, Paimon, went to Gorgoroth or something, and then he created a band in Norway with, I think it had Eric from Eternus drumming, but I can't remember the name at the moment. Yeah, it's gone. But yeah, check out Thunderbolt. Good band. Okay, more symphonic black metal. Had to pick up this. So we got For All Tid by Dimmu Borgir. I owned the original back in the day, the no colors version. Bought it in '95, one of the earliest black metal CDs I bought. I think I ended up selling it to a friend with a bunch of, you know, a lot of other stuff because I needed drinking money. So yeah, how good's that? Yeah, this one's just, you know, I prefer the black and white cover, but, you know, I'm happy to have the CD and listen to that. I've got the vinyl version as well. It's a picture disc, but I rarely play it because, you know, it doesn't really sound that great. So if I'm going to listen to For All Tid, I'll be putting this version on. Also grabbed Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, sort of the album that, you know, put them off into the next level, became quite popular with this album. And, you know, I used to listen to this album quite a lot back in the day. It's a really cool album. I still listen to it now and it takes me back, you know, a lot of nostalgia. It's very slick, very professional sounding. But, you know, I've been thinking a bit lately about how, like, say, you know, Dimmu's sort of trajectory, and I find like an Old Man's Child's way more interesting musically. So just a lot more happening with the riffs. Like, yes, the keyboards are the focal point and whatever's going on here, but underneath, it's pretty bare bones and basic guitar riffs and stuff. Whereas I find with Old Man's Child and even like bands like Emperor, there was always interesting guitar work and stuff like that. Whereas I find, as much as I like it, it's, yeah, not much happening guitar riff wise. And didn't really like this one back in the day. I've been warming to it. It's probably the most aggressive one, and probably more like as opposed to what I said with Enthroned Darkness Triumphant, with the riffing being quite straight down the line and pretty boring underneath. This one's pretty damn riffy. I had Astanu on guitar on this one. Maybe he brought in some more thrashier sort of death metal influences or something. But yeah, there's a lot more going on riff wise, which makes it more interesting to me. But in saying that, I prefer Old Mate with a top hat keyboard player compared to Mustas on this one. I'm not a huge fan of his keyboard work. It's very Carnival-esque or something, and I'm just not a fan of circuses. Okay. Just get these in the right order. Yeah, so just getting the rest of my Borknagar collection happening. So starting with Quintessence. I was a massive fan of the Archaic Horse, still am. It's probably my favorite Borknagar album. So when this came out in 2000, wasn't a massive fan, especially them going to Abyss. I was just like, oh no, what he is doing. But I never bought it at the time. I'd always hear, say a song like Colossus or the occasional track. But yeah, really good being going through, to go through this and really give it a good solid listen, because it's a really good album, despite my grievances with the production. Yeah, I need to spend more time with it as well. But yeah, really liking it. I can't fault it apart from the production, really. Probably a more aggressive side of Borknagar. Probably, more black metal, I'd say, despite still having ICS Vortex's, still cool soaring vocals. But I don't think he's doing as much of the clean vocals that he was doing on the Archaic Course. But yeah, cool stuff. Again, released through Cosmic Key Creations on these odd super jewel case, which I don't know, what are you meant to do if they break? Do they actually sell empty super jewel cases? I'm not sure. So yeah, I'll just have to look after them. Yeah, so I've got quite a few Borknagars here. I've got Empiricism. I really liked this album when it came out. First album with Vintersorg. Yeah, really cool stuff. Probably a different sort of style compared to what they'd done previous. It didn't seem as cold as well. Different studio that they went to as well this time, so that obviously affected the sound. But ultra solid stuff, not brilliant, but yeah, you can't fault them for try sounding a bit different and moving in a bit of a different direction. But yeah, really cool stuff. We've got Epic as well. Now this is the one I haven't really listened to as much, so I can't really talk much about it. But yeah, it's pretty much like Empiricism. It sounds very solid, pretty much continuing in that same sort of vibe, really. But yeah, got to spend more time with this one. And the same could probably be said with this one, Universal. What I've listened to so far, I really enjoyed some really cool tracks, slightly different production to both Empiricism and Epic. But yeah, they've never done a bad album. They're very, very consistent, solid band. And Oysten G. Bruin's got his own distinct style that he just sticks to, with sort of subtle variations on each album. And yeah, got the latest one, which has been out for quite a while now, True North. Again, I don't know it as well. What I have been listening to, I've been really enjoying it. The ICS Vortex track Up North is just a great song, even though it's like a single or the hit on the album. I absolutely love that song. It's a great vocal performance, and yeah, just great stuff. Thunderous, the opening track as well, is great. I just got to dig deeper into it and check out the deeper cuts. I also have Winter Thrice and Erd coming as well, so that'll round out the whole Borknagar collection. I'm not going to bother getting that acoustic album. That doesn't really interest me. And to finish off with the CDs, just got a few non-metal CDs. I sort of got these in a package deal. And a couple of these, or one of them I already previously owned in the 90s, but we'll start off with Arcana's Dark Age of Reason. Listened to this quite a lot back in the day, but on obviously burnt CDs and MP3. Just great atmospheric medieval type music, I'd say. Yeah, like I've said before about electronic music or just atmospheric music, I don't know how to describe it or, list off influences of what it sounds like, because I'm just not that privy to that scene. Maybe Dead Can Dance or something, but that's a very lazy comparison. And I don't really know much about Dead Can Dance either. Cantar di Procella, that's the one I know the most because I actually owned it back in the day and really enjoyed this one. That's a really cool album. And we've got, can I read the spine? The Last Embrace. So I got that one. Again, I've got to listen to these ones and give them a good run through. But in saying that, it's the type of music you got to be in the mood for. It's not something you're going to put on every day, is it? It's like just sit down and soak it in type music. And I just haven't really been in that mood lately. As Bright as a Thousand Suns, got that one as well. Raspale, and Le Serpent Rogue. So yeah, got quite a lot of arcana to listen to. They're a cool band. I saw them as a package there, and I was like, yeah, I'll grab those. So say me sort of trying to pick them off one by one. All right, I'll grab some vinyl. So these two are very well known. Nothing exciting here. I've had all the Darkthrone CDs up until Circle the Wagons. That was where I sort of dropped off with Darkthrone. I think it was the Underground Resistance. I think it had 3 good or decent songs, and then the rest I thought sucked. After that, they've lost me. And it's not that I hate what they're doing. It's just, to me, it's just so run of the mill and boring to me at the moment. Who knows? Maybe down the track, I will enjoy what they do. But yeah, the only Darkthrone vinyl I had was the Black Death and Beyond box set, which I mainly bought for the actual book in it. So yeah, I started to get the vinyl. So got Soulside Journey there. Not much needs to be said about that. Classic death metal album, their first album, recorded at Sunlight Studios. And we all know what would happen after this. They would just completely go off in a different direction. But when it comes to classic death metal, I mean, this is a bona fide classic death metal album. And obviously, A Blaze in the Northern Sky. What can be said about this one as well? Just a classic black metal album that, you know, I'd say along with that, the first Burzum album that really set the standard for Norwegian black metal. You know, obviously Fenrir is, you know, when you hear him talk about A Blaze in the Northern Sky, he tends to mention it having hangovers from, you know, the death metal days with the riffs, certain riffs and stuff. But I think that adds a bit of character to it. It's got that necro, grim sort of guitar sound and stuff, but it's still really well produced. It's really, there's a lot of space between the instruments. So despite it sounding sort of lo-fi, it's quality lo-fi. It's not all compact and stuff. It sounds like they're in a room, and yeah, it sounds really organic. But yeah, I really, what can be said? It's a classic black metal album. When was it? Last week I did a ranking album of Talker. So I've had these for a month now, I think. Got Natastid on vinyl, and let me hold it up properly. Björgvin, both released on Peaceville. I've got all the CDs, obviously, but I thought I'd get the vinyl versions, and boy, what a mistake that was. Without doubt, these are the most horrendous sounding vinyls I own. I will never be listening to these again. I put them on and I was just like, what a waste of money. Yeah, I don't know what they were thinking. I mean, those albums back then, they probably weren't, you know, recorded and mastered for vinyl or whatever. And it sounds worse than the CD, and the CDs are fine, but whatever's happened here with these pressings, it's just absolute rubbish. So yeah, I'll either sell them or just keep them and just won't listen to them. But yeah, when I listen to Talker, I'll be going for the CDs. So yeah, really disappointed with these, but you know, that's how that shit happens, doesn't it? Just organize these. Grab these as well. I've got another 2 coming. Got the first Necrophobic album. Really great stuff. Necrophobic were a band that I never really like. I'd heard Dark Side and I owned Third Antichrist back in the day, and it took me a long time to hear this first album. I think I had an MP3 version of it that really sucked, but just the sound quality of it. But this is a really good album. It's sort of, there's a slight Morbid Angel influence on certain riffs. It's got that sort of Slayer vibe as well, but still rooted in that Swedish death metal, or the classic Swedish death metal sound. Really eerie, evil sounding melodies, just a really, and really catchy, great songs. I'd say this is my favorite Necrophobic album at the moment. Absolutely loving it. And then we've got Dark Side, So this one seems a bit more compact and a bit more stereotypically Swedish at the time. I think 93 was the first album. This is 97. A lot more melodic. Maybe like a band like Dissection was, bands were starting to get a bit more influenced by that sort of style. Not that this sounds like Dissection. It was recorded at Sunlight, I'm pretty sure. And it's still a lot more brutal than a Dissection, but there's still that icy sort of element and quite melodic at times, but awesome stuff. And this was the one I knew the most because I had it on CD, and that's the Third Antichrist. It's really cool album. I think the CD version I had at the time was out on it's either Hammerheart or these are all Hammerheart. So yeah, it had to have been Hammerheart. But yeah, again, what can be said? That was sort of I'd say around Dark Side, and then going into this is where they sort of forged a sound that they would sort of move on with. But yeah, really cool stuff. And we've got Blood Hymns as well, which, sort of following on from the last album. Not really changing it up much, but just another batch of cool songs. Yeah, like I said, all been reissued on Hammerheart Records, and they've done a really good job. They sound really cool in comparison to those shitty Talker LPs. And finally, last one, I forked out for this Craft box set. 5 picture discs. I probably shouldn't go through them, but might just pull one out. So we've got Total Soul Rape there, and so on. They're really well done. They're really. I wasn't expecting much. I had really low expectations. I purchased it, and then I was like, oh no, $170. Am I going to get stung and it's going to suck? But no, it's really good quality box. Each album has its own little sort of not so much liner notes or lyrics. Some of them have lyrics. The first 2 don't. Although I remember having the CD back in the day of Terror Propaganda, and it did have lyrics and all that kind of stuff. So I find it weird that Terror Propaganda has no lyrics in this one. But for picture discs, very good quality sound, actually. I was sort of shocked. Total Soul Rape sounds a bit sort of, I don't know how you'd explain it, but just, yeah, not fantastic. The rest sound really good, really clear. The vinyls are obviously 180 or just very thick. And I can't complain. Very happy with it. The quality is fantastic. So, yeah, if anyone sees this around for a decent price and they feel like picking it up, just, yeah, I recommend it. All right. So that's the collection update for May. I don't think I'll have as many CDs and vinyls for the next month because I have to cut back a bit. But yeah, I'll see how I go when I do the next update. But yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.